Good morning, AMKS listeners. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood, the neighborhood, the neighborhood. You know what I mean? We're live on air. And this is AMKS Goddess Radio. Saying what you think, too afraid to say. Grow a heart, folks. You know, it's never too late to have some compassion, to have some mercy, to have some grace. We have to define these words sometimes. And I mean, on air. It's insane. Some days I wake up in a good mood, and my child, who makes promises, empty promises all the time, maybe I taught him how to do that. Maybe it is my fault. How do you unteach the teachable, or unteachable, I should say, because they are not teachable these days, because we don't know anything. And I can truly recall the times when I thought my mom did not know a damn thing. Truly, I really thought that, she couldn't possibly know the things that I was going through, the things that, I felt. So, the last 2 years, well, actually longer than that with technology, I don't watch TV. Watch a little YouTube, check out what's going on in the science world today, and love to listen to the blasphemers and the idolatrists and the hornets and the harlots and the people that think they know everything that you don't know. Because you're retarded, of course. Or at least that's how I feel. But then again, that's just the adversary making me feel like you're an ass, you're a dumbass, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And I know God has some other great, magnificent plans for me, because I'm still alive, I'm clean and sober, and I still feel the same way that the world is man-made illusion, causing people to fear and have stress, My friend in California, Sky Orange, said there was 3 military helicopters, right? That would make my friends, you know what I mean? Live on air, my podcast. My son listens to this music that's just phenomenally insane. The words are, I hate you, you hate me, everybody hates everybody. Everybody hates everybody, you know what I mean? And it's crazy. Because if that's the truth, we're all in some deep shit, you know what I mean? Am I hating the world today? Or do I hate myself today? I don't know. I think it's more I dislike people's actions and the way they live. So,
you're listening to the hour of the time. I'm William Cooper.
This gentleman's William Cooper.
We're going to be talking
He did a video
about what we found on our trip to the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada.
And that's where, just so you know, the mind freak is at Christopher Angel. Chris Angel.
City highway, looming off in the distance, is an incredible sight. If you did not absolutely know where you were at, you would tend to believe that you were delirious and had somehow been transported to the desert of Egypt. Rising up above the city of Las Vegas is a black, reflecting, huge pyramid, easily as big as the Great Pyramid of Cheops in Egypt. On the top of this pyramid
it has
is
a great light, yeah.
capstone, or what appears or looks like crystal capstone, reflecting the sunlight in every direction.
It doesn't reflect, it actually has a light.
Piece of black obsidian volcanic glass that might give you some idea of what the surface of
Hi Dennis, how you doing?
looks like. As you travel closer along the highway, you begin to see looming
The
up
obelisk.
an exact replica of the Sphinx. And in front of the
So,
It's kind of odd that the demiurge would be in on destroying himself, but you have to remember that Lucifer is the chaotic side of the demiurge. He actually takes joy in destruction.
so there's so many people out there talking about the demiurge, the demigods, and things like that. Oh, my back hurts so bad today.
Says this in there. She, refer to Sophia, will cast them down into the abyss.
And if you don't know who Sophia is, Sophia is Isis. Sophia is Lilith. She has been around since Adam.
Where they will come to be like volcanoes and consume one another until they perish at the hand of the prime parent. Prime parent there refers to the demiurge who created them. But then it says when he has destroyed them, he will turn against himself and destroy himself until he ceases to exist. And so you can see that this ancient Gnostic text is actually teaching the exact same thing I was saying. That the
And that's what we do these days. We try to, glorify our flesh, you know what I mean? The last year I've stopped shaving, I've stopped wearing makeup, I've stopped, wearing jewelry for the most part. I used to be a runway model. Nothing real big. I wasn't on there with Cindy Crawford or all these crazy. My back is killing me today. It seems like the more I go to church, I come home and my son is like the devil. It's amazing how the enemy seems to attack the things we love. And it's always an argument with my son. I ask him to put something away. Instead of telling me the truth where I could have done it myself, he lies to me. He lies constantly over stupid shit. And he said, well, it's just stupid shit, so it shouldn't matter. Well, it matters, because if you're going to lie over stupid shit, you're going to lie over big shit. So,
the reason that they are doing that is because they want to slowly indoctrinate more and more people. It's like when you tell a fictional story and it's nonsensical, at first people reject it. But the more you
my back is killing me today.
especially in this way, like
I just want to sleep all day.
on a subconscious level, that these things
I don't know why.
that it's
I really don't feel like doing anything when I've got to go see my psychiatrist because they say I'm crazy.
over and over again until finally, because you've seen it so many times, it starts to seem plausible. Like that actually could be the way it is. That could be the truth. But in reality, it's just that same absurdity from before. It's just now been wrapped in something appealing, and that is your favorite movie, or your favorite game, or your favorite book, or your favorite TV show. So that essentially what they've done is they've sugarcoated this lie, this absurdity, that if you would have heard it on its own, you would have rejected it wholeheartedly. But now they bring it to you wrapped in bows, and you swallow the whole thing, sugar-coatedness and the poisonous center.
Great MK Ultra mindfuck technology.
So to begin, just let me list here some content that is generally considered to have Gnostic elements in it. What I try to do here, though, is categorize them by each individual Gnostic element that appears in it. This is by no means an exhaustive list, but it should give you some idea of how prevalent this kind of thing is in Hollywood. I mean, a lot of these are huge multi-million-dollar movies. You'll notice, though, that the most reoccurring theme is the Gnostic construct idea. I think the reason you see that one more than anything else is because is they use it as a kind of fear tactic to manipulate people. I mean, think about it. They're propagating this fear of being trapped in some kind of uber prison. I mean, that's probably a huge reason for the explosion of Orwellian-type movies in general. They achieve that same kind of fear without the obvious Gnostic overtones found in these movies I've listed. It's all about creating a fear-filled atmosphere, though, so that eventually
So we're trapped in the Matrix, and we're trapped in our mind, because our mind is our worst enemy some days. Spiritus contra spiritus.
Embedding in people's minds this overwhelming urge to escape, even before they really know what they have to escape from, or whether they're actually even trapped in the first place. And this really sets up people to more readily accept Gnosticism, since Gnostic teaching then becomes the cure to the disease that the Gnostics intentionally
Blue and red pill.
first place. But I want to single out some of these that I listed and show how some of the deeper things that I talked about are actually expressed in them. I don't really have time to touch on them all. This video is probably going to run long enough as it is, so I'll leave a link in the description to Good Fight Ministries video called Hollywood's War on God, which is all about exposing Gnosticism in movies. So check that out if you're interested in more stuff like this. So the first movie I want to jump to is The Matrix, which it's actually a trilogy of movies, but as most of you probably already know, it all starts out with the main character, Neo, being unknowingly trapped in a type of computer simulation of Earth known as the Matrix. It's even called a prison for the mind by one of the characters.
Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
But you have some duality symbolism sprinkled throughout the Matrix movies, like checkerboard flooring.
The devil works in mysterious ways and attacks the people that love you or want you to love them.
And one
When you don't
character
feel
even
good, your back hurts and shit like that,
Just
and all you do is throw up
realize
every
the
day.
Gnostic character
You
she's
can't get
playing,
no kind of
but
help
you
from the
have
people
the
around you.
demiurge
I don't
from
understand
Gnosticism
that.
making appearance.
Maybe God wants me to go and suffer some more. I've been suffering and suffering, suffering and suffering. But that was my demonod son, who can't stand me, who don't believe in God. Ugh. You know what I mean? And this is the great music he listens to all the time. That just talks about some stupid shit.
We did not first, I turned them down, so I didn't help you, my ass.
What?
You had them all the way up on 5, sitting there like this.
Yeah, oh well, I'm dead. I don't belong here in this world. I told you
I
that.
turned it down already. Live? Alright, right, clean. Cool. Back away, bitch.
I don't feel good. You don't care. I know that. I go to church and I come home and you're like a dare.
Live? Right? Cool. Back away, bitch.
And you're live on air.
Cool.
Can I have a fork? Never mind. Didn't want to get near you.
That was his flow on this, alright.
You don't feel good. You never feel good. My son can't cook me breakfast because I'm not worthy. You know what I mean? But I'm supposed to cook for him every day. It's life. My brain is killing me. My back is killing me. And I don't have anything to drink, so I've got to go right back in there and get something to drink. The house is not big enough to stay the fuck away from him all day long. One of the cats puked right here. Can you get it, please?
Huh?
One of the cats puked right next to the chair.
Huh?
One of the cats puked. I can't bend over. My back hurts.
Yeah, I'll get it.
Right there. Oh, there's no water. There's nothing to drink.
There's water.
Where?
You just don't want to.
I can't bend down. My back is hurting right now, Marcelino. There's no water. Yeah, there's no water.
There's water.
They don't put water in there. There's Clorox wipes underneath there to clean up the puke. See, I know. He knows everything. I can't tell him anything because he knows everything. I love to argue with you online so the whole world can see what a jackass you are. Fuck. God. Why me? You know? And I'm sober.
And third movies, the character
Fuck.
called the Architect is essentially this machine.
Makes me want to get high,
program
dude, I
that's
swear.
The creator of the Matrix, and who has enslaved all mankind within it. Though the second movie actually speaks about a co-creator.
I am the architect. I created the Matrix. You are. If I am the father of the Matrix, she would undoubtedly be its mother.
And she's actually the one I mentioned who wears the dualistic earrings, the yin-yangs. But these two co-creators seem to portray the Gnostic belief in the dual demiurge that I was talking about before. But what's more is that the name Architect for the demiurge character is pretty telling and more than appropriate, since demiurge can be translated into many English words like architect. For example, it could be translated as fashioner or artisan, craftsman, creator, designer, and plenty of other synonyms of words like those, which would obviously include architect. So architect is definitely one way to refer to the Gnostic demiurge. But even more telling is that the Freemasons, who as I said in the beginning are just neo-Gnostics, neo meaning new, but they actually refer to the demiurge as the Grand Architect, so it would seem that at least some Gnostics prefer the translation. But the architect in the movie is portrayed as this calculating, evil genius whose only flaw is his obsession with perfection.
The first Matrix I designed was quite naturally perfect. It was a work of art, flawless, sublime. A triumph equaled only by its monumental figure. I've seen...
My friend dropped me off in front of my house, and there was a tall
I
man
love
on my
those
porch,
shit.
and he pushed me inside and brutally raped.
Now, Rona, the secret knowledge of the elite.
No matter where you may live, it's getting hard to ignore the uptick in natural disasters and climate changes that appear to be plaguing us all around the world lately. It's also getting hard to ignore
Wow,
the
snow
fact
in Egypt.
that something is wrong.
And,
Our governing men and world leaders have given us various reasons for these earth changes, but can we really trust that they're telling us the whole truth? As of late, we've been told that it's El Nino and the unusual warming of the coastal waters. Some say that it's the planet Nibiru and that the Death Star causes this destruction when it
Yep.
returns.
And
Initially, we were told that it's due to global warming because of the hole in the ozone layer.
that we
But
created.
this goes against the fact that 83 billion tons of ice is still forming in Antarctica each year, and they forget to mention that only the west coast is actually melting. But it would do one good to research the McMurdo military base, established in 1958, the world's largest research facility, and also the possible culprit for that hole. Others still believe
HARP.
that the government is manipulating the weather through HARP.
Can you turn the
For
air
those
down a
of
little
you
bit,
familiar
please?
with what HARP is,
My
please
room's the
listen
only room
closely
that gets hot
to
air,
this
so.
short briefing.
I wanted to ask a couple questions here about HARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. Several of you
Is that
at
yes or no?
the table have a little bit of a piece here. As you know, this is located up in Alaska. It's currently funded by the Air Force Research Lab. It was formerly funded by the Office of Naval Research. One of the prime customers is DARPA, which is currently running experiments at the facilities here. So questions to several of you this morning. I'm told by the president of the University of Alaska that the Air Force has pulled its support for the facility, and they're taking steps to demolish it or take it down this summer. He's making the argument that there is other opportunities for us, and is trying to find a path where the university might be able to take title to the facility.
No.
I'd like to start with you, Dr. Prabhakar. I understand that a lot of folks here on the committee probably don't understand what HARP does. I think most Alaskans don't really know what HARP does or why the agency is involved in it. So a very brief explanation and then a more direct question. Would you be disappointed or would you lose something if HARP were to go away?
Senator Murkowski, as I think you know, one of our programs has been using the HARP facility for the research that it's pursuing. And my understanding is that we did get value out of that interaction. The P in DARPA is projects, and we're not in the business of doing the same thing forever. So very naturally, as we conclude that work, we're going to move on to other topics. So it's not an ongoing need for DARPA, despite the fact that we had actually gotten some good value out of that infrastructure in the past.
Understood. Then to
He didn't tell you
Dr.
what it was,
Walker
huh?
and Mr. Schaefer, then, Dr. Walker, your agency is currently running the facility. I've mentioned that it's our understanding through the president of UAF that plans are to move
Did you
forward
see the vomit?
and demolish the facility this summer.
Did you get the
So
wipes?
the question to you is that accurate? Can you explain why? And then perhaps to both you and Mr.
I can't hear you.
Schaefer,
What?
is there any benefit in exploring a potential relationship with the University of Alaska to perhaps take over the harbor?
Thank you, Senator. The Air Force has gotten great value out of HARP in the past. We took it over from the Navy and managed it and actually did a number of experiment campaigns up there and have finished our work that we're interested in doing up there. We've moving on to other ways of managing the ionosphere, which the HARP was really designed to do, was to inject energy into the ionosphere and be able to actually control it. And but that work has been completed.
From extreme floods to massive earthquakes, the ring of fire now all lit up. All of the sleeping giants from the civilizations of antiquity have now awakened. We have mass animal die-offs of varying kinds happening all around the world. With all of these things going on, one can't help but wonder if we aren't in what some would call the last days. Certainly, something strange is going on with the weather.
Have 500 days to avoid
Oh man, I don't feel good.
very important issue of climate change, climate chaos. And I said that we had 500 days to avoid climate chaos, and I know that President Obama and John Kerry himself are committed on this subject.
As a mom of 3 and a high school teacher, I know how important it is to keep children safe.
So why don't
Hey,
they
what's
do
up,
it?
guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun channel. I wanted to share with you guys some information that is both disturbing, but also encouraging at the same time, and I'll explain why. Now, a
And
few
all
weeks
of
ago, we
these are on
published
YouTube. You guys can check them out yourself. I don't feel like talking today because I really like.
of the Unknown God with Carl Typrip. And we talked about how Burning Man is this event that is the tip of the spear for culture. And his attendance last year gave him the opportunity to understand
I love Burning Man. Don't like it as much as it is now.
He wanted to get out there again this year, but was a little short on resources. That's when you guys stepped up. You guys who have been following Face Like the Sun, who have been subscribed and support Canary Cry Radio, you guys stepped up prayerfully and faithfully and chipped in for the cause, and Carl Tykrib and a team of people were able to go out to Burning Man. And in the process, my co-host Basil also made it out there. And in fact, if you're part of the Canary Cry Radio Patreon, you'll get a couple extra audio stuff where, Basil goes around for an hour at Burning Man with a microphone, and you hear all kinds of crazy stuff. You really get a sense for what it's like to be in the dirt at Burning Man. It's quite intense. And we also have a sit-down conversation talking about all the stuff that he saw at Burning Man. It is over the top, folks. But we
already know that kind of stuff. Running around naked, think about it. You know what I mean? They run around naked, they do drugs. They have an AA group there now.
Hi, Steve here. There was a secret meeting you never heard about. The secret meeting took place while President Trump was in Britain, as the press mocked his insulting behavior toward Prime Minister Theresa May. A much more important gathering took place 100 miles from President Trump's home in New Hampshire. Many sources are aware of it and are very suspicious of the purpose of this meeting. The publishing of the occurrence of this meeting provides anti-Trump co-conspirators plausible deniability with what's about to happen. I'm convinced that the elites are planning an economic collapse and a coup against Donald Trump. And this is their way of hiding their intentions in plain sight. We saw the Feds raise the interest rates this last week, and the stock market took a nosedive. On July 13th, 2018, several of the country's most influential leaders and businessmen were invited to a secret meeting in New Hampshire to discuss a major change that affects at least 3 cabinets and even the Federal Reserve. In this meeting, there were no members of the federal government. Not one. According to this source, what we discussed, quite frankly, was stunning. And it could lead to big changes for Americans. I uploaded everything I was allowed to share about this secretive meeting online. Unquote. This meeting is being called Bretton Woods II. On the surface, it's very clear that the economic elite of this country are seemingly intent on collapsing the economy, and they're planning a post-economic collapse plan designed to usher in a new monetary system. If this was all there was to the meeting, we could easily conclude that it's a New World Order and deep state plan to derail Let's Make America Great Again, in which the economic recovery of the United States, launched by President Trump, is catapulting America past all other nations right now. China is squealing like a greased pig. The European Union is mired in their own economic mess of their own creation. Only the United States is showing the economic rebound from a nation that can now economically sustain its own population. Meanwhile, nations like Italy are resorting to implementing universal basic income policies in order to prevent a revolution in their country. As a result of President Trump's inspired populism, the criminal elite are one ticked-off group of globalist governors. As a result of America's economic success and renewed pride and loyalty to the United States by the people, a spirit...
I just want you guys to get around.
Let's suppose that you're writing a really important email to a colleague.
This is truthunedited.com.
When looking at the world today, it's very obvious to understand why the Father commanded us not to be of this world. When we look at many of the practices, holidays, and rituals that we participate in, the reasons we should not be of this world become so clear. A majority of the holidays and customs that are celebrated in the world today have pagan and occult roots. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 11 says, "And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them." And this is why I'm making this video. Over time, we have accepted pagan and occult practices that have been marketed to us as being fun and harmless, but that is so far from the actual truth. The celebration of Halloween is something that truly emphasizes this point. The reason is because the history of these things is not properly taught to us. We are only taught about the fun things, like wearing costumes and going around and getting candy from the neighborhood, but we never have been taught where all these things come from. We tend to just accept it as being harmless fun. But in actuality, the truth is, if we are ever taught the truth about these things, it's a fact that a majority of society will not partake in them, even those that don't believe in Elohim. There has always been an agenda to blur the lines between good and evil. Also, an agenda to initiate the world into the occult and to accept the things of Lucifer. After you understand more about Halloween, you will clearly see that this agenda is truly in the end stages. Let's begin. Before we get into the history, let's talk about what Elohim says about this subject. At 3 John chapter 1, verse 11, it says, "Beloved, do not imitate what is evil, but what is good. He who does good is of Elohim, but he who does evil has not seen Elohim." Romans chapter 12, verse 9 says, "Let love be without hypocrisy. Abhor what is evil. Cling to what is good." And lastly, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21 and 22 say, "Test all things. Hold fast what is good. Abstain from every form of evil." So this probably isn't a newsflash to you, but Elohim hates evil. But maybe what you may not understand is that he wants you to hate evil as well and have no fellowship with it. So what now needs to be proven is why Halloween is evil. Because many people think that if they just don't do the demons and the goblins, but have nice harmless costumes, that they aren't doing anything wrong. Or maybe if they do a trick-or-treat even at their church, then it's all good. Now that you understand through Scripture that the Father wants us to abstain from and abhor every form of evil and not imitate it, let me show you what Halloween is.
It was good in my room, so like.
That feeling when you're Halloweening. Because you went to save us.
Okay.
You are the mother of drag.
Okay, so...
While Halloween masquerades as harmless, childish fun, it's serious business in the occult world. Witchcraft, Wicca, Satanism, and paganism believe on the night of Halloween, devils and spirits are unleashed. They perform their most hideous and potent rituals on the night of Halloween. Halloween glorifies death and worship to Baal or the devil.
Bow.
Now we can go back deep into paganism with Nimrod and Semiramis to find its pagan roots. But much of what is done in Halloween comes from the ancient Druids. Halloween began...
Look.
To some, the idea of Noah's flood conjures up images from Sunday school Bible stories of a small boat overstuffed with cute animals that gently bobbed in an ocean for 40 days. Many simply call it a myth. Fewer and fewer these days
think it was a
believe the
myth?
flood account from Genesis 6 to 9 is actual history.
They found the boat. How could
The
it be
Bible
not?
frames the flood as an actual historical event, one that involved a specific family of 8. Genesis says the flood lasted for a full year, engulfed the entire world, and preserved animals, plants, and humanity from well-deserved judgment. The flood represents the most detailed account of any single event in the Bible. Both the
3
Apostle
chapters,
Peter
80.
and Jesus even referred to the Genesis flood as a real historical event. So it's safe to say that the credibility of the Bible, and even Jesus himself, hinges on whether the flood account actually happened as described in Genesis.
Now, you guys can see all the bullshit in the world happening. You know what I mean? Never speak bad words after again watching this. What did he say? Bad words again after watching The Power of Words.
Let there be light. And there was
light.
I want to remind y'all of the power of the mind. You can think yourself into a depression. You can think your way into stress. You can think your way into misery, frustration. There's so much more power in the mind than you probably like to give yourself credit for. Change your mind. Decide that you love yourself enough to not surround yourself with people, things, and situations that can have your mind continuing to spiral down this negative and dysfunctional train.
Once I feed you with an idea that you are susceptible to something, look, I can feed you with an idea that this pill that we just got from the pharmaceutical company, it's the greatest, best thing for your issue. And I give you this pill and you get better. And then later you find out it was a sugar pill, and everybody goes, yeah, that's called the placebo effect. And I go, what does it really mean? I said, you didn't get healed by the pill, you got healed by the belief in the pill. And I go, well, yeah, that's what placebo is all about. And at least 1/3, minimum of 1/3 of all medical intervention is, it's the placebo effect where the healing comes from. Everybody goes, yeah, I know about the placebo. I go, yeah, but that's a result of positive thinking. What about negative thinking? And this is what we don't talk about, but the reality is it's equally powerful in regard to affecting your biology as is positive thinking, but it works in the opposite direction.
This is AMKS Goddess Radio, and I've been playing some clips and rips from fucking YouTube. This is the Goddess, you know, saying and thinking about all the things that you guys think about but don't want to speak on because you're afraid of putting it out in the universe. Grow a heart, America. Grow a heart, universe. Stand up for something or you're going to fall for everything. School's in, man. You don't want to be famous.
Or negative shape our biology, and all of a sudden it says,
Peace out.